32 short films about Glenn Gould is one of the best films in Canadian history. I don't think it's quite the best, but when people, of course, when it came out in the 90s, right then and there, people were exploding saying that it was definitely a contender for it. And that's what I'll agree with. It's a contender for the best Canadian film. It's just usually when you look at some of the best Canadian films, and like when I've made lists about my favorite Canadian films, quite a few of them are technically American films that happen to be filmed in Canada. But 32 short films about Glenn Gould is 100% a Canadian film. I mean, like the titular man himself, Glenn Gould, is Canadian. Colm Feore is Canadian. The movie is pretty bizarre in terms of its output and in terms of what it of how it's actually constructed. Like the title of the film, 32 short films about Glenn Gould, it's just how it sounds. Okay, it's an anthology film, and I do like it's only an hour and a half long, roughly. And when Siskel and Ebert were talking about the film on their weekly show, they did say that a movie doesn't need to show each and every single little thing about a person's life. And, frankly, in the case of this film, I do agree with that. They could be picky and choosy with things, and we can still get a really good understanding about who Glenn Gould actually was. And we can still be heavily admired by Colm Feore's performance. We see Glenn Gould from when he's a toddler up until his death, but we get some documentary stuff in this, like some interviews with the actual people, and we get some cartoon bits and some avant-garde scenes. So the way that all that stuff comes together, yes, it's strange the way that everything comes together, and it's really strange why they would choose to do certain things like that. But nothing seemed to be really, ooh, look what I can do. It seemed as though they really felt like that was the best thing to do, and as a viewer, felt the same way. Anyone that's not familiar with Glenn Gould, he was this Canadian concert pianist, one of the very best, and essentially a child prodigy. Very, very, he was a genius, essentially. And music, well, mainly piano, consumed his entire life. Like, no matter where he was, no matter what he did, he could never, ever stop hearing the sound of just wild pianos playing. And he could never, ever stop pantomiming playing piano. And he could never, ever stop pantomiming conducting. That is how much music really consumed him. And during the film, when we see just the simplest scenes, just the most normal scenes, we're really sucked not only into the film, of course the film, it's good. Like, we do want to see what's going on. We like what's happening, but it's more than just being sucked into the film, okay? We're sucked right into Colm Feore himself. No. We're sucked into Glenn Gould himself, because Colm does such a good job playing Glenn Gould. He looks like him, and being a psychological film, that's what's so good about this. I love psychological films, and psychological music films, count me in. Any sort of psychological film about creativity or arts, to me, that goes a little bit further than a psychological film about someone else that does some other thing for a living. This one, he's just mesmerizing in this. And even though the movie is heavily, heavily fragmented, and some of the bits and time periods just bounce around, and some of the different genres kind of bounce around, like as a little bit of avant-garde, a little bit of animation, a little bit of documentary, a little bit of traditional narrative. Still, even though this movie combines all that stuff in very strange, fragmented, anthological ways together, and some of the scenes last for like less than a minute, in each scene, we're really drawn into it. And in quite a few scenes, we're sort of so into it that whenever the scene ends and it cuts to black, and then we get the title card of what the next film is going to be, it feels like we're being yanked out of the film. And the fact that happens in this over 30 times, it can take a little bit of a toll on the viewer. I'm not saying a bad toll. I'm saying it'll take a good toll on the viewer. I mean, we're like what we're seeing, like the music, it's so hypnotic, and we're deep in the psyche and the mind of this heavily eccentric piano player, and we're just drawn in, we're drawn in, we're drawn in, and then that film finishes and yank, and then the string goes black, title card appears, and then we're thrusted in again, deeper and deeper and deeper, then we're yanked out again. Really good touch there. I do think that 32 Short Films About Glenn Gould does get better upon each rewatch, because I have seen this film twice, and I look forward to seeing it more times, because the first time thought it was good, and the second time loved it. Third time probably like it more and more and more. And I don't think there's anything wrong really with a film that gets better when like more times you study it, and a film that really needs to be studied in order to be fully understood for the best way. I'm okay with that, to be honest. I'm okay with that. So yeah, I do want to give 32 Short Films About Glenn Gould from 1994 3.5 stars out of 4. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you again next time.